Hey everybody, it's me, Miss Burks. So here's the video I was promising you guys about what we would have talked about in class today. We know Neuro was having some issues, so we weren't able to do class today, but here is what we would have talked about in class. So we're starting off this week with the writing process. We're going to be learning about informative writing. Informative writing, we know, has two names. It could be called um, expository writing as well. And I'm sorry if you see me looking over and then directly at you sometimes. It's because I have both my screens on. So my camera's on this one, but my stuff that I'm looking at is on this one. So I apologize for that. But here we go. Let's get going with what we would have gone over in class today. Okay, first thing is our objectives. So, first, do I know what an informational essay is? Do I feel comfortable with various writing skills that I need to have in order to be effective on my FAST test? I know this says FSA right here, but now it is our FAST. Do I understand what the rubric is asking me? And I will be sharing the rubric with you here at some point. Not today though. And do I understand how to write a hook and thesis? And we are going to work on that throughout this week and next week in whole group. Okay, first thing, informational expository essays. They're the same thing. Both informational and expository essays both ask you to inform the reader about something. So your prompt is going to ask you certain questions. And what you're going to do in an informational essay is explain what they are asking you using the sources that are given to you, because you know this is called text-based writing, which means that your writing is going to be based on things that you have read. You don't have to do any research or anything like that. Only your evidence is going to come from things that you have read, okay? So you will need to gather information to support your answers to the prompt in English class and the FAST test. You will be given articles or stories to read, and then you use the stuff from those articles or stories for your evidence, your reasons, your details, okay? Yes, there are times when you get details from your head, but the bulk of it comes from you pulling evidence from a text and then being able to explain that evidence that you pull from the text in your own words. All right, let's keep going. Okay, so the first part of your essay is the introduction. The introduction with any essay, informative, argumentative essay, you always start off with an introduction. And we're only focusing on informative essays right now. So your introduction and your conclusion of the essay should be brief. So that's the beginning of your essay and the end of your essay. Those both should be brief, nothing too long. So remember, you are working under a time constraint. This is going to be a timed test whenever you actually do take the FAST test. So the bulk of your time should be spent on planning and writing your body paragraphs. But here is what goes in your introduction paragraph. Your introduction paragraph might be 3 to 4 sentences, maybe 5. 5 is a good place to start for introduction. You're going to have a hook and a thesis statement. And we'll get more into thesis statement too. So don't worry too much about thesis statement if you aren't too familiar with it. So your hook is when you grab the reader's attention. You hook them in, just like with a fishing line. You throw it out there, you reel it in, and you pull them in. You want to hook the reader. You want to ask a question, tell a story, give an interesting fact. But the things that you're talking about in your hook should have something to do with what your prompt is asking you to do. Okay, so that's your hook. That's the first part of your introduction. Then you're going to want to have a thesis statement. That's going to be the ending of your introduction. And in between your hook and your thesis, your hook is like your first sentence of your introduction. And then your thesis is like the last sentence of your introduction. The stuff in between there is just going to be background information that you might want to throw in there that you know about the topic, or just some interesting facts about the topic that you can put in there. That goes in like the little middle part of your intro. And then your thesis is what you end with. Your thesis is when you answer the question that the prompt is asking you. So for example, if my question was something like, how are the Burmese pythons affecting the Everglades? Based on the sources I read, my thesis would say something like this: the Burmese pythons are affecting the Everglades because of this, this, and this. Your thesis statement is going to state your 3 reasons for why the Burmese, or how the Burmese pythons are affecting the Everglades. So just remember, your thesis is when you answer the question from the prompt and state the reasons behind it. And that's the end of your introduction. Okay, and we'll work more with that next week in whole group. So this is just, again, telling you what a hook is and what a thesis statement is, which is what I just told you. Okay, now we want to write like pros, right? So here we go. In order to write like a pro, the first thing that you get in your packet for writing, or it could be computer-based, whatever it is, the first thing that you're going to get are the articles or your sources. You normally get like 3 to 4 sources to read. Now, if we want to write like pros, though, we know that we do not read our sources first. We need to read our prompt first and then go back to read our sources. Because if you read your prompt first, if you read your sources first, you have no purpose for reading. You're just reading and you don't know why you're reading these sources. So it's always important to make sure you read your prompt first. Read your prompt first. And any sources, anytime you use the sources in your essay, you need to make sure that you are citing your evidence. That means you are giving credit from the source. And that's as simple as saying the text says this, or the author says this, or source 1 says this. All sources have a number. Okay? So the first thing you want to do to write like a pro is to read your prompt first. After you've read your prompt, you now know what you're supposed to be writing about. So then you go read your sources. And while you're reading your sources, things are popping in your head like, oh, that answers my prompt. That answers my prompt. And that's when you can annotate the text. That means to highlight, underline, take notes. Okay, so number 1 is like what I just said. Read your prompt first. And sometimes when you open the packet or open the computer, depending on if you're typing or writing your essay, your prompt isn't always first. I don't know why they do it this way, but it's not always first. So you always want to make sure you go find your prompt and read that first, no matter where it's at. If it's in the beginning, the middle, or the end, wherever, read your prompt first. Okay. After you've read your prompt, you want to then break down that prompt. You're still reading your prompt, but you want to break it down so you can really, really understand what they're asking you to do. And we're going to work it with that on Thursday in whole group class. We're going to work with how to break down your prompt. So after reading the prompt, make sure you know what you're writing about by breaking it down. And I'm going to show you how to break down your prompt on Thursday. It's quite easy too. Then here is the annotating of the text. So you've read your prompt, you've broken your prompt down. Now you're reading your sources. And while you're reading your sources, you want to make sure that you annotate the text. That means to take notes, underline, highlight, whatever it may be, so you can go back easily to the sources to find the information that you need. All right. And then lastly, you want to make a plan. Do not skip this step. You don't ever want to skip this step. Make a plan. Even the best writers make a plan before they start writing. Use an outline, an idea web, or whatever works best for you to plan out your essay before you write it. And this is just like a note, some notes that you can take, so it's easier when you try to go and plan your essay. Okay, so right here is just a 5-paragraph essay outline. You have an intro with your thesis. Your intro and thesis go together. And then that's 1 paragraph. This all is 1 paragraph. Then you have body paragraph 1, 2, and 3, and then your conclusion paragraph. So that accounts for 1 paragraph here, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, paragraph 4, and paragraph 5. And we'll go more into that within the coming days and weeks. Okay, so always just make sure that you plan. Please don't forget to plan. Okay, so I'm gonna stop there for today because that's where we would have more than likely stopped for class. I know this isn't a 45-minute video, but we would have done a bell ringer. We would have chatted a little bit and all that stuff. So this would have been like the 45-minute mark. This is where I stopped in my whole group 1 before Neuro messed up. So just want to just say, please look at this as much as you need to. Make sure you've read your newsletter for this week so you know what you're supposed to be doing. You know what is due. Please read the newsletter in its entirety. Okay? And if you have any questions or concerns, please let me know. And I'm sure Neuro will be working fine for us on whole group for Thursday. All right, y'all. Y'all have a great day. I hope you learned something today. And remember, if you need anything, any question or concerns, just email me, text me, whatever it may be. All right, y'all. Y'all have a great day. Bye.